Amid the hustle and bustle of Hollywood, there is a man who chooses to live slowly. In an old mansion in Wales, where the sound of wind and the smell of wet grass become the soundtrack of peaceful mornings. Anthony Hopkins, who once made the world shudder with his Hannibal Lecter gaze, now paints, plays the guitar, and watches the clouds drift over the hills of Port Talbot, as if giving back to life the tranquility that fame once took away. Today, let's step through the moss-covered stone gate to explore inside the peaceful home of the man who once stood at the top of Hollywood but always returned to his hometown to find himself. Before we enter that house, let's go back to the journey that took Anthony Hopkins from a poor Welsh boy to a silver screen legend, a journey written with discipline, loneliness, and extraordinary talent. Anthony Hopkins was born on December 31st, 1937, in Port Talbot, Wales, a small industrial town where fog and the hum of machinery echoed through the valleys. As a child, Hopkins was not a model student. He openly admitted that he had no interest in schoolwork, preferring instead to draw, play the piano, and immerse himself in colors rather than formulas. But his life took a turn at the age of 15 when he chanced upon the legendary Richard Burton, who was also born nearby. Burton became an inspiration, prompting the young Hopkins to pursue art seriously. He enrolled at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, graduating in 1957, the beginning of a journey that would last more than half a century and make him an icon. After his time in the army, Hopkins left Wales for London, entering the world of professional theatre. It was at the Royal National Theatre that he was discovered by the master Laurence Olivier. Hopkins quickly proved himself to be a talent who didn't act, he lived. And in 1968, he made his film debut as Richard the Lionheart in The Lion in Winter, a powerful debut. Critics immediately recognized this was not a new face, but a classical soul, with the weight of Shakespeare and the sophistication of Europe. In the 1970s and 1980s, Hopkins conquered American television with roles that required complex psychology. He received 2 Emmy Awards for The Lindbergh Kidnapping Case, 1976, and The Bunker, 1981, transforming into Adolf Hitler with a look that was both mad and haunting. But the title of legend was only truly engraved in 1991, when he appeared in The Silence of the Lambs. Only 16 minutes on screen, but the role of Hannibal Lecter sent shivers throughout the world. A cold, intelligent, and frighteningly calm acting genius. The role earned him an Oscar for Best Actor and turned Anthony Hopkins into a global pop culture icon. After Silence, he continued to challenge himself. From the gentleman in Howard's End, the repressed butler in The Remains of the Day, to the father in Legends of the Fall or President Nixon in Nixon. He could transform into a British aristocrat, a villain, or the supreme god Odin in the Marvel Universe, and still make the audience believe Anthony Hopkins is that character. That talent comes from rigorous preparation. He once said that he memorized his lines hundreds of times so that every movement and eye contact became as natural as breathing. There was no improvisation, only discipline and a memory of steel. In recent years, Hopkins has continued to prove that age cannot stop him from reaching the top. His role as a father with dementia in The Father, 2020, made him the oldest person ever to win an Oscar for Best Actor at the age of 83. Amidst the new generation of cinema, Hopkins has maintained his form, a master living in a noisy era, but still shining with stillness and courage. In addition to acting, he is also a musical artist. Before becoming an actor, Hopkins loved the piano. He debuted the song Distant Star in 1986, composed the symphony The Mask of Time to perform with the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, and in 2012, he released the album Composer, which included all of his own compositions. Perhaps for Hopkins, music is a soft complement to the strong inner world on screen. Not stopping there, he also tried his hand at directing and writing scripts. In 1990, he released the documentary Dylan Thomas, Return Journey, and in the same year, he was invited to replace Laurence Olivier in the revival of Spartacus. A touching symbol, as the former student was given the role of taking over the teacher's voice. In 1993, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. Today, Sir Anthony Hopkins is recognized as one of the greatest actors in history. He is not only a film legend, but also living proof that true talent does not need to be loud, just steadfast and honest. After decades of wandering around Hollywood studios, Anthony Hopkins has finally chosen to return to where it all began, the peaceful Welsh countryside, where he built a temple of silence. Step into that space, where the wind blows through the hills and the veteran artist finds himself again. Mansion in Wales. Hidden within the tranquil folds of Port Talbot, Wales, Sir Anthony Hopkins's countryside estate feels like a portrait of time itself. A place where the echoes of history merge with the quiet rhythm of a man who has lived many lives. Built in the late 19th century, this magnificent stone residence spans 6,074 square feet and houses 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. Though its purchase price remains undisclosed, its value is evident in every inch of craftsmanship and character. The moment you pass through the original wide oak doors, you enter a reception hall that feels like the overture to a symphony, balanced, elegant, and full of promise. The grand winding staircase rises gracefully, leading toward the private quarters above. To the south, 3 principal reception rooms unfold in perfect sequence. A family lounge bathed in sunlight from square bay windows, a formal oak-paneled dining room that recalls an era of stately dinners, and a refined drawing room that radiates understated grandeur. Each room opens to sweeping views of lush lawns, the tennis court, and the poetic Welsh countryside, transforming the home into both a sanctuary and a stage. Deeper inside, a corridor leads to 2 of the most personal spaces, Hopkins' study and the billiard room. Both are lined with dark wood paneling and crowned by a vaulted ceiling, anchored by a central brick fireplace that feels like the home's beating heart. Daylight spills in through dual-aspect windows, illuminating every grain of wood, every quiet thought that might arise while gazing out toward the garden. It's a room that could easily host a philosophical conversation, or an artist's silent contemplation. At the center of the home lies the kitchen and breakfast area, a space that bridges the practical with the poetic. Expansive countertops, handcrafted cabinetry, and a large central island invite not only meals, but conversation. Moments of warmth and laughter that soften the mansion's stately air. Doors open directly into the garden, where the fragrance of grass and rain drifts in. Beyond the kitchen, the ground floor also offers a utility room, pantry, wine cellar, and guest washroom, ensuring that even the practicalities are handled with grace. Ascending the broad spiral staircase, the first floor reveals an atmosphere of calm indulgence. The main bedroom, facing west, captures the golden Welsh sunset through its tall windows. It includes a spacious dressing room and a luxurious ensuite bathroom, blending classic comfort with contemporary ease. A second bedroom, equally refined, mirrors this arrangement with its own dressing area and private bath. The second floor continues this harmony with 3 additional bedrooms and a family bathroom, making the home as functional as it is majestic. Outside, the estate unfolds like a private world. A 3-car detached garage stands beside a fully self-contained apartment above, ideal for guests, caretakers, or family visitors. This annex includes its own living area, kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom, maintaining the same level of refinement as the main house. Beyond that lies another garage and workshop, tucked discreetly near the rear gardens, complete with a double garage, potting shed, and utility room for gardening. The property's gated entrance opens automatically to a long, winding driveway bordered by manicured hedges and mature trees. It's a cinematic approach, as if you're driving into a hidden chapter of Welsh history. The estate is shielded by traditional stone walls, offering privacy without severing its connection to the open landscape. The gardens are alive with character. Terraced walkways, orchards, a restored Victorian-style greenhouse, vegetable plots, and a recently renovated tennis court. Every element, from the symmetry of the lawns to the distant song of the wind across the hills, speaks of order, patience, and peace. For Anthony Hopkins, this isn't merely a residence, it's a reflection of the man himself, timeless, disciplined, and quietly profound. Here, between the stone walls and green pastures, the actor who once mastered the art of intensity finds his truest role, that of a man at ease, surrounded by history, creation, and the stillness of home. Leaving his Welsh manor feels like stepping from a dream into motion. The stone walls fade behind him, replaced by the low hum of engines waiting in quiet reverence. Now, let's take a closer look inside Sir Anthony Hopkins's private car collection. Car collection. Each vehicle in his collection mirrors a facet of his personality: elegance, control, and an appreciation for engineering that borders on the spiritual. From Italian craftsmanship to British resilience, Hopkins' garage is as refined as his performances: deliberate, rare, and unforgettable. Maserati Quattroporte. The black Maserati Quattroporte is perhaps the most symbolic of Hopkins's cars, a fusion of Italian elegance and restrained power. Under its sculpted hood lies a 4.7-liter V8 engine capable of producing 425 horsepower, accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.9 seconds. Valued at around $110,000, it's a sedan that whispers sophistication rather than shouts it. Often seen gliding through quiet European roads, Hopkins treats the Quattroporte not as a status symbol, but as an extension of his personality. Refined, timeless, and quietly assertive. Its beige leather interior, wood trims, and deep engine growl embody everything he stands for: control with character, luxury without arrogance. Porsche Carrera GT. If the Maserati is the poet, the Porsche Carrera GT is the virtuoso. With its 5.7-liter V10 engine, delivering an astonishing 612 horsepower and reaching 205 miles per hour, this car represents raw emotion, the kind Hopkins channels when performing on screen. Priced at roughly $450,000, it's one of the rarest cars ever produced, with fewer than 1,300 units built worldwide. Hopkins has been spotted cruising along California's Pacific Coast Highway, the silver Carrera gleaming beneath the sun, a cinematic image of freedom and mastery. For him, driving it is not about speed, but about rhythm, the seamless dialogue between man and machine, art and motion. Range Rover Autobiography. Every artist needs grounding, and for Hopkins, that's the Range Rover Autobiography. With its 3.0-liter turbocharged inline-six, 395 horsepower, and commanding presence, this SUV represents the quiet luxury of British design. Priced around $150,000, it's his vehicle of choice when returning to Wales or navigating the winding roads of the countryside. The cabin, wrapped in hand-stitched leather and walnut veneer, feels more like a private study than a car interior, a moving sanctuary. Hopkins has often been photographed behind the wheel, window down, greeting admirers with his unmistakable warmth. The Range Rover is less about performance and more about belonging, the comfort of home, wherever the road leads. Each car tells a chapter of Anthony Hopkins's life: the Maserati for elegance, the Porsche for passion, and the Range Rover for peace. Together they form a portrait of a man who understands that luxury is not excess. It's precision, heritage, and silence between notes. And beyond the elegance of engines and aesthetics lies another story, one of enduring success. Because behind these machines of beauty stands a man whose career has turned artistry into legacy. Now let's explore how Sir Anthony Hopkins built a fortune worthy of cinematic royalty, his income, investments, and the quiet empire behind his artistry. Income and net worth. With a career that has spanned more than 6 decades and over 100 roles across stage and screen, Hopkins has earned his place among the immortals of cinema. His estimated net worth of $120 million isn't the result of loud ventures or flashy endorsements. It's the accumulation of a life lived with precision, purpose, and an artist's restraint. Acting has always been his heartbeat and his fortune's foundation. From The Silence of the Lambs, where his chilling portrayal of Hannibal Lecter brought him roughly $5 million and his first Oscar, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Odin, which added $15 million more across 4 films, Hopkins turned performance into art and art into enduring value. In The Father, 2020, his brilliance earned him not only $10 million, but also a second Academy Award, making him the oldest Oscar winner in history. And even today, with projects like Locked and Freud's Last Session, he continues to command $5 to $8 million per film, proving that mastery ages differently when it's genuine. Yet his income isn't confined to the screen. His Malibu home once sold for a $6.7 million profit, while his broader real estate portfolio, stretching across Los Angeles and Wales, is valued at around $30 million. His second love, painting, adds another dimension. Vivid Welsh landscapes that sell for up to $200,000 a year, blurring the line between art and meditation. Even in the digital era, Hopkins adapts effortlessly. His Instagram and TikTok presence reportedly brings in $50,000 to $70,000 a month, turning his reflections on art and music into another stream of graceful prosperity. Through it all, Hopkins has remained deliberate, never driven by money, but by meaning. His earnings, estimated at $30 million annually in recent years, tell a story not of greed, but of constancy. He's an actor who treats time as his greatest currency, investing it only in projects that resonate with soul and intellect. That is why, after more than 60 years, his fortune feels less like a pile of wealth and more like a gallery. A collection of timeless performances, each one framed in discipline. And yet, beyond the numbers and the accolades, lies a quieter truth. Hopkins' wealth has always had a conscience. Now, let's step beyond the stage and the screen, into the part of his life where art meets compassion, where success transforms into service. Let's explore Sir Anthony Hopkins' philanthropy, the generosity that defines the man behind the legend. Philanthropy. After overcoming alcoholism in 1975, he has often said that giving back is his way of repaying life. That philosophy has shaped nearly 5 decades of compassion, rooted as deeply in his Welsh homeland as in his global fame. Hopkins' greatest legacy of giving began in Snowdonia National Park, where he served as president of the Snowdonia Appeal under the National Trust. He personally donated over £1 million to preserve its wild landscapes and published Anthony Hopkins' Snowdonia, 1995, to raise more funds. His enduring commitment to environmental preservation earned him a place among the 100 Welsh heroes in 2004, a tribute he calls his proudest. At home in Port Talbot, he's been a lifelong patron of the YMCA, supporting youth programs and community projects since his teenage years in the 1950s. "They gave me purpose when I had none," he once said, a debt he continues to repay through quiet generosity. Beyond Wales, Hopkins' compassion reaches across causes and continents. He's supported Starlight Children's Foundation since the 1990s, bringing joy to terminally ill children, lent his voice to the Cancer Project and Greenpeace, and provided funds and advocacy for St. Francis food pantries and shelters, feeding the homeless across the U.S. In Texas, he donated paintings to the Born to Read Literacy Initiative and composed orchestral pieces for the San Antonio Symphony's fundraising gala, blending art with empathy. His giving continues to evolve with time. In 2020, Hopkins launched the A.H. Eau de Parfum and candle line with Margam Fine Art, a lifestyle project where part of every sale supports children's and environmental charities. After losing his Los Angeles home in the 2025 Pacific Palisades wildfire, he posted a message that went viral. "The only thing we take with us is the love we give." He followed that message with action, encouraging donations for wildfire victims and hosting a charity concert in Riyadh with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, dedicating his own compositions to humanitarian relief. Through the Sir Anthony Hopkins Charitable Foundation, established in the 1990s, he continues to fund arts scholarships, cultural projects, and environmental initiatives, most quietly, always meaningfully. His philanthropy mirrors his artistry, deliberate, reflective, and timeless. And beyond these public gestures lies a man of solitude and serenity, one who finds his richest joy not in applause, but in peace. Let's step inside the private world of Sir Anthony Hopkins, where art, stillness, and love intertwine. Personal life. At 87, Sir Anthony Hopkins lives not in the rush of Hollywood, but in a world shaped by peace, music, and introspection. Splitting his time between his serene estate in Wales and a modest home in Los Angeles, he leads a life that feels less like retirement and more like a graceful second act, where every day begins with gratitude and ends in art. Hopkins' mornings are a ritual of simplicity, a cup of strong coffee, classical piano practice, and a walk through his garden with his wife, Stella Arroyave, whom he calls the calm in my storm. The two have been inseparable for over 2 decades, often spotted strolling near the Welsh coast or attending quiet gallery openings in Santa Monica. Stella, an art dealer turned producer, has helped him rediscover joy through creativity. Together, they paint, compose music, and post lighthearted videos to millions of followers, moments of humor that reveal the playful spirit behind his legendary intensity. In recent years, Hopkins has embraced social media as a bridge to connection rather than fame. His Instagram, filled with piano improvisations and dancing clips, feels like an open diary, joyful, spontaneous, and deeply human. He says it's therapy through sharing, a modern twist on his lifelong search for meaning. Friends describe him as both deeply private and unexpectedly funny, someone who can quote Nietzsche one minute and do a silly dance the next. When he's not composing at his grand piano, Hopkins paints, vast, colorful landscapes inspired by his memories of Wales. His art studio, filled with canvases and the scent of oils, has become his sanctuary. He often donates these works to environmental and arts charities, turning passion into purpose. He still travels for select events, most recently a charity concert in Riyadh with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. But his favorite destination remains home, where the air smells of rain and pine. Evenings at the Hopkins household are simple: a glass of mineral water, jazz on vinyl, and long conversations about art and life. To those close to him, he is not the haunted genius of the screen, but a man who has mastered the art of peace, someone who found freedom not in applause, but in stillness. At this stage of his life, Sir Anthony Hopkins no longer chases spotlights. He creates his own light. Every corner of his world, from his tranquil Welsh estate to his sunlit art studio, speaks of balance between past and present, fame and solitude, mastery and humility. His story is not merely one of success, but of self-understanding, of a man who learned that peace is the ultimate form of power. And perhaps that's why we still find him captivating. Not for the roles he plays, but for the serenity he embodies. From stage to screen, from piano to paintbrush, Anthony Hopkins reminds us that life's greatest performance is living with grace. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, may we all find our own quiet masterpiece.